Hi, everyone. It's good to see you here again today, and I trust that you're all doing well during these rather challenging times, as most of us are housebound, and I do hope that you're able to get out and go for a walk every day and just enjoy some of the beauty that's all around us this time of year. We really need that to keep us all, you know, filled up, just filled up with wonder and with appreciation for all of the good that's around us these days. This week I was remembering 1981 when the markets crashed, and the morning of the great disaster, when financial analysts opened up their Bloomberg screens, there in front of them was a quote by Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind, and it was "Prepare yourself for the best that life has to offer." That thought kept going through my mind this week because it's such an amazing thing to think about. Not not prepare yourself for the worst, but prepare yourself for the best. And these days we're typically hearing on the news and on television that we need to prepare for the worst. The worst is yet to come. But why? We don't have to look at it as the worst in our lives. We can look at it as the best. And the way that we do that is to actually start creating the best in our lives. And it may seem a little bit of a stretch right now with what we're going through. However, it's all possible. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about this month, what my monthly theme was going to be, I thought, what more important than to talk about our personal power? It's something that we may feel has escaped us during this time. We may be feeling a little bit powerless over what's going on, but we have to remember that we have this incredible power within us. And so today I want to talk about living on purpose with power, because it's something that we need to remember. We're born with this. It's inside each one of us. It's in us when we're in the womb. It's what's beating our hearts. And when we come out, either screaming or laughing uh, or just rather quiet, it's because we've got this power that has us breathing. It breathes life into us as we come out of the womb. And it's that breath that keeps us alive, and it's that power within us, that spirit within, that is creating all of that. And it's absolutely magnificent. And it's something that we really need to remember during these times, because it's easy to forget. When we're struggling a little bit, it's easy to forget those things. So what we need to understand is that we are not powerless, and that people around us are not powerless either. We perhaps look at others that way, or they might look at us that way. It reminds me of a crazy joke. I don't know if I ever told it to you, but it's the story of a church that was looking for a new minister. And they had decided, most of the board had decided upon a woman, but there was one member of the board who was totally against hiring a woman for the job. And he was overruled, and the woman was hired, and this man just was nothing but trouble. He could not find a positive thing to say about her, even though the congregation loved her. He couldn't find anything good about her. He was always complaining about her. And so the board chair decided that a good thing to do would be to take him out fishing and to invite the minister to go along, because it would be a good chance for them to get to know one another better. So the curmudgeon agreed to do this, and the minister was quite happy to go along. So she met them on a Monday morning, because, of course, that's typically a day that ministers try to take off. And they had a rowboat, got into the rowboat, and they had their fishing poles, and out they went to the middle of the lake and pulled in the oars. And all of a sudden they realized they'd left the tackle box on the dock. And the curmudgeon said, "Oh no, here we go. We're going to have to row back to shore to get the tackle box. We've got to do it." And he's picking up the oars. And the minister said, "No, no, 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 no. It's okay. I'll go and get it." So she hopped out of the boat and she ran on top of the water over to the dock, and she picked up the tackle box and was on her way back. And the grumpy old man looked at the board chair and said, "We hired a woman and she doesn't even know how to swim." You know, don't you know some people like that? People who just cannot find something positive or wonderful or miraculous in anything that's going on in life. And this is such a wonderful time for us to look for that. A wonderful time for us to think about that, to just think about this power, to think about what it is that we want to create and to accept it. To just go into our lives and say, yes, the power is within me. It's here now. I get to use it. I'm using it all the time anyway. I might as well use it consciously. And we have the time to do that right now. Most of us have a lot of time on our hands these days and are finding, are looking for ways to use it. So what better way to use it than right here, right now? And what we need to remember is that when we have trouble believing that this power is within us, is that there are invisible things in this universe, all kinds of invisible things that create form. And we don't see the invisible. We don't know how it works specifically. We don't know how it does what it does, but we see the end result. And of course, the great example of that is electricity. We don't know precisely what electricity is. We just know how it works. We flip on the switch and the lights come on. We put in the plug, the kettle boils. We click on the remote and the TV comes on. It's like a blooming miracle when you stop to think about it. But if there's a power failure, of course, it doesn't come on, and none of these things really work. And I started thinking about that, and I thought, when our lives are not working for us, are we experiencing a power failure? And I thought, yeah, we are. When we're going through challenges in our lives and we don't like the way our lives work, then we're disconnected from source. And of course, the source is that power within us. The source is God. It's spirit within. And it's not somewhere out there in the universe, although it is out in the universe, but it's here around us everywhere, and it's inside us, and it is in everything. And isn't that exciting? I mean, if we can really accept that right here and right now, and we've got time to experiment with it. Why be skeptical of this, or why say, well, it didn't work in the past. If it didn't work in the past, then we were disconnected from source, and we need to plug in again. It's a really important thing for us to remember. So what is it that we want in our lives? How do we want them to look? What do we want to see? Ernest Holmes said, behind every creative mind is a better way to think and a better way to do things. I think I probably said that last week. I could say that every week because it's so important for us to remember that. Our thoughts create form. Our thoughts create our realities. If our lives are not working properly, then our thoughts are in the way of them working properly. And we need to become much more conscious about that. And that sometimes is the toughest thing for us to remember. But remember, again, Ernest Holmes was teaching this more than 100 years ago. And quantum physics has proven today that we create form with our thoughts. And if you want to look that up, just go to Harvard online and just, quantum physics experiments. There are hundreds of thousands of them there. By now, there are probably millions. I think I looked at it about 10 years ago, and there were more than 100,000 then. But start reading some of this, or get a book on quantum physics and read it and really understand this power and how it works and how that power is directed by our minds. Change your thinking, change your life, and as Emmett Fox used to say, and keep it changed. And I loved what Emma Curtis Hopkins said. She was Ernest Holmes, or one of Ernest Holmes' teachers. And she said, stand guardian at the portals of your mind. Stand guardian at the portals of your mind. Oh, just breathe that in. That's such an important thing to consider. It means mind your thoughts. Guard your thoughts. Don't let negative things creep in. Stay positive. See your life the way that you want it to work. See the life that you want to live. It's up to us. It's about using our minds consciously, not just slipping into the subconscious, because in the subconscious, things will just keep on creating. They're always creating anyway. And so it's important for us to take charge, to really, really take charge, to think about these things, to think about them, and to use our energy, that power within us, to use our passion, to use all of our senses. When you have something that you want to create in your life, I've said this before, I know, but it's worth saying over and over and over again until we get it. And that's to use all of our senses, to think the thought, to see it, to hear it, to smell it, to taste it. It's so important because when we do that and when we put that passion behind it and when we keep focused upon that idea, on that thought, and we have all of that energy behind it, it can't help but begin to take form and then to continue taking form as long as we don't let ourselves slip back, as long as we don't pull the plug on our power, pull the plug on God. That's what's within us, that God stuff that's within us all. And what a good time, as I said, to do all of this. It all begins with the way that we're thinking. We have to get our monkey minds out of the way. They'll slip in periodically, and sometimes more often than periodically. And we'll just say, oh yeah, well, it hasn't worked yet. Why do I think it's going to work now? Why should I believe this now? Well, just believe it. Let's just experiment with this now. Let's experiment with believing, and let's make it happen. Whatever it is that you've wanted to create in your lives, just know that you have this ability to do this. It's possible for every single one of us. We don't have to be living in fear. There's so many fears out there right now. We don't have to be afraid of all of these things. It's so unimportant. We need to forget that these things, it's not important for us at all to be focusing upon a virus. We need to be doing what we're told to do. We need to protect ourselves. We need to do what the protocol is that we're being given right now. But we don't have to live in fear. We don't have to live in the disbelief that life will ever return to some semblance of normal again. Let's start looking at it as being better than normal rather than being worse. Again, the best that life can offer to us. Let us look at that. Let's spend our time on that. Let's not be lazy and forgetful about these things. Let's work with our minds and with our emotions and just know that we're more important than this virus. We're more important than disease. We're more important than poverty. We're certainly more important than what other people think of us. How much time do we spend thinking about those things that are not important? We need to realize that we have so much going for us, and we need to be consciously using it. I was remembering, I don't know if I've talked about this before or not, but I watched again a film called Dare to be Wild. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but if you have to really understand how this works. It's a true story. It's not a story that somebody made up just to let us know that we can use this. It wasn't a story that was being used as an example. It's the story of a woman named Mary Reynolds, and when she was a little girl, she had this wonderful secret place she used to go out into the fields with all of the flowers, and she absolutely loved the plants and the flowers, and she believed that they spoke to her. She could actually hear them speaking to her. And even though she lived in abject poverty, and her family did, she said, one day I am going to win the gold medal at the Chelsea Flower Show. Now, as an adult, she was still living in poverty, but she never changed her mind. She said, I'm going to win the gold medal at the Chelsea Flower Show. Think about that. The entry fee into the Chelsea Flower Show is £250,000. Well, she just decided one year that was going to be her year to do it. She didn't ask how it was going to happen. She said, this is what I'm going to do. This is the what. And so often I say, think about what it is you want. Never mind how, because God will take care of how. God will take care of the details. And she was just right into that space. Now, she was called away by a friend and went to Ethiopia for several months that year because they needed help with people planting trees to help change their economy, to help change their climate, and so on. And so while she was there, all she could think about was when she got home, she was going to win the gold medal. Well, she did get home, and she didn't have the $250,000. She had a few months left, but she didn't worry about any of that. She focused upon getting to the flower show. She focused upon the gold medal. And as she was doing, and she was doing some radio interviews at the time about her time in Ethiopia, and about what it was that she was focused upon doing that year, that she was going to be in the Chelsea flower show. And someone heard her and was inspired by that and sent her a check for £250,000. I'm not kidding. Really serious. She was so passionate about what it was she wanted to do, so focused upon that someone sent her the money. And so she then had her entry fee, and she had to figure out how she was going to get the flowers there, how she was going to transport everything. She was going to need some help, and help showed up. There was a group of men who wanted to help. They were unemployed. They didn't have any money, but they were wonderful gardeners. And she had the design for what she wanted to do. And so the day arrived, they were in Chelsea, and they were putting together this magnificent work of art with wildflowers and a stream, just an absolutely beautiful, beautiful thing that they were doing. And it happened that Prince Charles had the garden next to them. And Prince Charles was absolutely fascinated with what she was doing and chatted with her and admired what she was doing and told her so. Can you imagine that? Imagine being in this impoverished person who suddenly has the money, is in the flower show, and not only that, has Prince Charles in the garden next to her and is telling her what a good job she's doing. Well, of course, she won the gold medal. It's an incredible story. It's a wonderful film. Dare to be Wild. If you haven't seen it, what a good time to look at it. Tune into Netflix. It's there. And just have a look at it and just let it inspire you. Let it get to the core of your being. The understanding that with God, everything is possible. When you have the vision, everything is possible. What is it that you really want to do with your life? What are the dreams that have perhaps been forgotten, that were put on the back burner decades ago, so long ago that you don't even remember them anymore? I don't know about you, but I've had time to be thinking about that these days. When life slows down the way that it has for us, we have the time to think about those things. And there were a couple of things that came up for me, and I'm not going to get into them right now, but one of them was a big project. And I remember thinking a few years ago, oh, it's too much money, and probably I'm getting too old to do that. It's a really big project, takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of doing, a lot of being out there with it. And all of a sudden I thought, this is not impossible. And I'm not somebody who typically does vision boards, but I hauled out a piece of cardstock, big piece, and I started doing a vision board with it. And the more I did it, the more excited I got, and the more I realized it is possible. The money will come because I can see this happening, and I could see it being successful, and I could see myself having the time to do it and having all kinds of support from all kinds of people. Some of you being involved in it. Not with money, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people who want to just get together and work on it and make it happen. There are so many things that we can do if we will only believe in ourselves and believe that this power, this God stuff, is within each one of us We are all born sparks of God stuff, each one of us. Let us not forget that. There's so much that we can think about right now. There's so much that we can do. Let us use this time constructively. Let us use it joyfully as we get into these feelings of joy and these feelings of excitement about a project that's out there that we want to get into. Maybe it's something like you just want to learn how to paint with watercolors or with oils or acrylics. Or there are books left you want to read, or there are books that you want to write. Somebody got in touch with me a couple of days ago and said, are you up for another 3 months of this? She lives in Ontario, and the Ontario government has said it's likely going to be another 3 months. And I said, I'm just so excited about all of the things that I can do. If it's got to be 3 months, it's got to be 3 months. I'm not going to fuss about it. Let's hope that it's not that long. Let's pray for people all over the world that they're going to have a better life. Let's see us emerging from this time better than we were before. More loving, kinder, more caring. The way that people are showing how much they care right now. Let's see a world where we come together with greater love and greater peace in our own hearts, where we realize what is really, really important out there, that we all look after one another, that we are all connected with one another. Like I heard on the news a couple of days ago, President Trump saying that he was informing 3M that they could not send ventilators to Canada. And then I heard the health minister in our own country, in our own province, British Columbia, being asked by the press if that means that we're going to stop sending masks to the US because we've been doing that. And he said, no, that's not who we are. We're Canadians. We care about other people, and we will continue to supply other people with their needs. We're not going to do tit for tat. That's not who we are. That's not who any of us is. We are all better than that. And during this time, let us consider how important this is for each of us and what we can do to make the world a better place. And we can do that with our thoughts. We can do that with our vision. We can do this on purpose with the power that we have within. It's there for us now. And so it is. And I invite you now to go to our donate button on the website. This is the time when we typically take up our offering on Sundays, and make a donation there if it moves you to do so. If you click on the donate button, it'll take you to PayPal. And if you're watching this on Facebook, then go to our website, www.cslvictoria.org. And you can make a donation there. We very much appreciate it. Or if you know our treasurer, Lillian Slanina, you can send a check to her, or send an e-transfer to me at revcarrie@shaw.ca, and I'll see that Lillian gets that. And just know that we're looking forward to opening our doors again, whenever that's going to be, and that your contributions to us at this time ensure that we will be able to open our doors, because many of our expenses don't end because we're working online now and working from home. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for who you be. God bless you all, and have a great week. And I look forward to seeing you again next Sunday. And so it is.